Hello, Pirate Dave here, and it is time for a Phantom Sunday story. Yes, on May 28th, 1939, Lee Falk and Ray Moore debuted a new Phantom storyline right alongside their currently ongoing daily storyline, which was The Mysterious Girl at the time, what we read last week. This is League of Lost Men, and it was debuted in the Sundays section of the newspaper, which meant full color. And of course, people familiar with the Phantom will learn that this is when the established color of purple was set for the character, although it wasn't the first color that he appeared in. He first appeared as the color brown in Ace Comics number 11, I believe that was. It's still a color that New Zealand uses today, but for American audiences, the legend goes that the producer of the strip just felt that purple popped a little bit more, that they couldn't get the gray color that Lee Falk preferred for the Phantom to come out right. But let's go ahead and get right into it with The League of Lost Men, Sunday story number 1. And the first strip, each of these pages will be 1 day's worth of strips. So this would have been the first day that people would have seen. It's the origin of the Phantom, the story of the Phantom. As you can see there, 400 years ago, sole survivor washes up on shore. The natives find him. He finds the skull of the man who killed his father, and it pledges upon him to fight greed, cruelty, and injustice wherever it may be, and that his sons and their sons will follow him, and the legend of the Phantom is born. And that's the first time we see the Phantom. Really great color combination, by the way, with the purple in front of the warm sunset there. I just love that so much. After the origin recap, we get into the story proper, and each of these strips is going to come with this little title card here, this title panel, at least for a little bit. We see a gang of thugs strong-arming a local Bangalla tribe. They're forcing them to hand over protection payment, and when the tribe refuses, they burn their huts down. How despicable. And as you can see, we go into a new day. It has that new panel, and it just summarizes the story a little bit more. These Sundays were definitely a different type of format in many ways. These terrible men, these jungle drummers, get on the horn to warn the Phantom, but they shoot out the drummer. But the message gets out, and word gets to the Phantom. This league of lost men, who they are or where they go, we know not. The Phantom is on the case. The League did not manage to stop the message from getting back to him. Meanwhile, we have this scientist. He's a lepidopterist. I think I said that right. He's a butterfly scientist, and he's come to Bangalla to study rare butterflies along with his daughter. We're going to find out, I believe, later that her name is Helen. And as he's out trying to catch some butterflies, well, he gets the eye of the League upon him, and they pull Helen down off her horse, and they demand their money and maybe a little ransom, but it looks like the Phantom has caught sight of them. As they're taking Dr. Thrush and Helen back to their compound, the Phantom starts picking off the League one by one, leaving his mark. And the League knows who the Phantom is, and the people who know the Phantom usually are criminals. So that's how we get a little bit of foreshadowing. He takes out a few more League members one by one, enough to scare the rest of them to double timing it back to their camp. Meanwhile, the Phantom interrogates one of the fallen thugs, and he learns the story of the League. Apparently, they were on a prison ship. They were prisoners, appropriately enough. They were set free when the ship ran afoul of bad weather, and they used their second chance to make a living in the woods by terrorizing local tribes, and the Phantom has the same living, terrorizing peaceful natives. I think the League and I are going to have a little conference soon. How terrible, man. You get a second chance of freedom, and you decide to form a gang and burn down huts and hold people for ransom. Despicable. The League bring Dr. Thrush and Helen back to their compound. They decide to hold Helen captive, and they're going to send Dr. Thrush out to the nearest city to get ransom for her. And of course, the Phantom confers with Garan, who suggests the rally the forces of the Bandar to take out the compound, but the Phantom, no Grand, they have too many guns. Instead, send your warriors to capture a few of the big moths that wear my sign. The big moths that wear his sign. That's very interesting. Why? Why does he want him? Showmanship, Gran. We shall see what we shall see. Very interesting. So the Phantom infiltrates the compound, knocks out a few guys. As you can see, this is moving along a lot faster than a daily story does. Because, you're only getting these 8 panels once a week, right? So it just moves just a little bit. Bull, I found Peppo out cold, a mark on his jaw, the sign of the skull. They found the skull mark on somebody knocked out. Meanwhile, these moths. Bull, look, a moth, grab it. Ah, a death's head moth. If you're familiar with Silence of the Lambs, right? These were featured in Silence of the Lambs as well, the death's head moth. That's really cool that the Phantom has that association with this bug. And then the Phantom immediately reveals himself after releasing the moths. That's pageantry right there. Very cool. The Phantom shoots out the lantern and races across the compound and grabs Helen out of the thing and takes Helen over the wall. And meanwhile, Bull has his beads on the Phantom. He's gonna fire, but good boy Devil stops him just in time, and oh, he pays for it. The Phantom gets Helen clear of the compound, but of course he's got to go back for Devil, and the League decides they're gonna burn Devil on a trash heap. Burn Devil, will they? The Phantom gets there just in time, but oh, drops him into a cleverly concealed pit. They set a trap for the Phantom. They knew that he would come back for Devil. The Phantom realizes his blunder, but I mean, you can't blame him, right? He had to come back for his good boy, his good friend. So the Phantom is stuck in this gorilla pit. Meanwhile, Helen's hiding out in the jungle from the League looking for her. But she doesn't hide for very long. They catch up with her and bring her back to the compound. They're both in quite a predicament now. Meanwhile, the Phantom's in the gorilla pit, but he's not a gorilla. He has a plan. Apparently, the pit is too dark for the guards up top to see anything, so one of them sends the other off for some torches. I guess they're gonna tease and prod the Phantom, but he gets a little bit too close to the gorilla pit, and the Phantom snatches him. Meanwhile, Devil's helping him out. Devil's hauled up. That's so cute. The other guard comes back with the torches, but his friend's gone. He's, where'd you go? Oh, and he grabs him around the... I love this panel. Just a quick aside. I'm going to grab this because it looks familiar, right? Especially if you were watching last week in The Mysterious Girl, you have a similar panel, right? So see if we can get... a little awkward. See if we can get them side by side. I'm sorry. See if we can get them side by side. So it's not that Ray Moore reuses the panel really, because you can see clear differences. He just gives a much more defined panel in this story. He has the same idea, right? But we get a clearer illustration on that ring. Just really excellent fidelity. This is 1939. The illustration ability of Ray Moore was just, oh man, it's just crazy. Meanwhile, Bull has discovered that the Phantom has escaped. They ring this alarm. It's apparently a wooden gourd that they're just banging a gun against to alert everybody. The Phantom and Helen have made it into a building, but Bull has cornered them, and so the Phantom decides he's gonna meet Bull one-on-one. Drop your rifle and I'll drop my guns. You'll break like a matchstick. Bull's a big guy. He's pretty confident. So the Phantom makes a deal. If he beats Bull, they go free. If Bull wins, they don't go free. Sure enough, it's a big fight. Phantom wallops Bull and he tosses him in the gorilla pit, and he tells the League to honor the bargain, but they're a gang of... this is clever writing, I think, because they're a gang of criminals. They don't care that Bull made this deal. They're going to take out the Phantom, right? And so the Phantom sees that they're not honoring the deal. He takes off with Helen, really great panel there. And they take a shot at the Phantom and Helen, and the Phantom, do as I say. He falls off the horse. The Phantom uses this tactic a lot, as was mentioned in a comment last week. I didn't mention this, but these last couple of panels have this alternating header here. They don't have the additional the additional wrap-up panel that they did before. Helen escapes, makes it back to the Bandar, and her father, who apparently the Bandar have intercepted. Meanwhile, the Phantom, presumably dead, they know that, or he's passed out. They see that he's passed out. This would have been really great if they thought he was dead, but they know that the Phantom, cannot die, and so they're gonna, burn his body because maybe they think that burning the body will help. So they shovel all this straw in, and that's a really important point. They shovel the straw in so they can light a fire to the building, and they leave the shovel in there. It's a little silly, but it's plausible, right? Because they are just kind of a mindless criminal thugs. The Phantom uses the shovel to dig out a trench, and he's gonna lie in this trench with a little bit of dirt exposed so he can breathe, and the trench is going to protect him from the fire surrounding him. But of course, the League isn't going to see this, and they're just going to assume he's supposed to die in the fire, and he stands up out of the flames. The epitaphs are premature, gentlemen. Never bury the body until it stops kicking. What a way to establish your mythology, man, to just walk out of these flames and show them that you can't be killed. The ghost who walks, it's a spook. Let me out of here. Meanwhile, the Bandar and Helen and Dr. Thrush have seen the flames burning in the sky. Look at this epic panel that Garan gets. The bandits of the fortress have fled to the woods. Seize them, men of Bandar. And they take out the fleeing League members. The Mandar don't get a whole lot of moments so far in the stories we've seen, but they get very cool moments here. Meanwhile, Helen and Thrush are looking for the Phantom. They see all the smoldering remains, and they say, "You're alive. I'm only going on about one cylinder, Helen, and I think my battery needs recharging." This is really cool, right? Because you see the Phantom narrowly escape death, bring these guys to justice, but he's not unscathed, right? He's bandaged up, he's burning, he's dead tired, and he admits to that, and that's where the Sunday story number 1, League of Lost Men, concludes. It's interesting, right? Because you would think that maybe the debut of the Phantom in this Sunday format, in this colorized format, might have some sort of more significant lore specific premise around it, especially featuring Diana, right? But instead, Lee Falk has decided to create this story, and I'm sure that he just already had a structure for it if he was only ever going to make dailies, right? The League of Lost Men would have ended up as a daily at some point. But League of Lost Men really encapsulates the all the details for the character that make him so fascinating and fantastic, minus Diana Palmer, right, and his romantic pursuit of her. The fact that he is not a man with superpowers, that he is a mortal man, that he has to think his way out of enhancing his mythos, and he's got to think his way out of dangerous situations to come off like this immortal specter. We get to see that insight as a reader. We get to see his vulnerability in that regard. He's dead tired, and he's bandaged, and he's wounded by the end of it, but he is alive, and everybody, and especially the League of Lost Men, believe they've just done battle with this ghost, this mythical figure. It's a very interesting choice Lee Falk made for this to be the debut story for the Phantom, and very smart too, because I think it really does hit all those beats about what makes specifically the Phantom, specifically him and his existence and his story, and what sets him apart from the burgeoning characters at the time, right? This would have been after Superman debuted, for example. It's what makes him special and what makes him a very specific hero. This is a very much only a story that could have been told with the Phantom at the helm. And to see him in color for the first time, Lee Falk would have preferred it be gray, of course. And it is kind of a grayish purple, right? I think it's a compromise between the sort of vibrant purple we associate with him today, and the gray that Lee Falk would have preferred. So much so, and I'm not just being, it's not like he accepted that immediately. My understanding was he continued to refer to him as the Gray Ghost, even in his dailies stories. He was referred to as being his suit as being gray. He was a really long holdout on embracing the purple identity, or I guess it's not his identity, but it is his iconography, right? Anyway, that kind of belabors the point. That was the first Sunday story. I hope you did enjoy it. I was deciding about how to go about proceeding with these stories, and I decided the best way to do it is to just do it chronologically. So if the next story, date wise, is a daily story, I'm going to do a daily story next week. And that happens to be the case here. The next story that we'll cover is the Golden Circle daily story number 11. But after that, we'll get right back into the color, right back into this specific volume. This collects 6 Sunday stories all on its own. And you can see it was a little, not even a little bit quicker. It was significantly quicker, significantly more brief than the other stories. It's taking place, I think this one took place over, I want to say like 20 weeks. Don't quote me on that. Something like 20 weeks. And again, whereas for the daily story, that would be 4 panels a day. And so you would get, by the end of the week, at 6 panels, you get 24 panels. This is giving you 8 panels a week versus 24. So it really is condensing these stories into a much more frenetic format. That being said, I think the League of Lost Men did a really great job putting all the players where they needed to be. And even though, shortcuts are kind of taken and things are just kind of, taken as a given, like, oh yeah, there's a butterfly scientist in Bangalla, and that just happens to be the point of drama for the Phantom facing the League of Lost Men. You accept that it's an action adventure story for a pulp hero, right? And we don't have to ask too many questions there. I hope you enjoyed the League of Lost Men Sunday story number 1, this new format, and especially seeing the Phantom story in color. This is a very great collection from Hermes Press, very nicely remastered, I would imagine. I don't know what it looked like in color at the time, but these pages, they certainly are very vibrant, and the fidelity on them is fantastic. Thank you very much. I was Pirate Dave. I will see you next week with daily story number 11, The Golden Circle. Thanks. Bye.